Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Stockbridge Sketchworks. We're continuing our work on Back to the Future. Now I've made a few changes in between episodes. In particular, I've redone the eyes for both characters. I've also tidied up a bit of the flame at the bottom, and I've added another shade on his life preserver, on Marty's life preserver there. I've started putting the guides in on his denim jacket underneath the preserver thing. I don't know, waistcoat, puffer jacket thing. So we are now continuing on. We're just going to press on. My apologies if the previous episode was a bit rubbish, but we're back on form now, and we are now just shading in the dark shadow in between his arm and the actual puffer jacket. We're going to be finishing off his arm, and this is really just going to be the bulk of this episode, is sorting out his arm. I didn't think it would take as long as it did, so there it is. Also making a few tweaks to the shading on the puffer jacket there. I really don't know if that's what it's called, but I'm calling it a puffer jacket. It's as you can see, I've also sketched in the background black there. It will need another pass because there is some grey sort of patches up on the right, to the right of Michael J. Fox. The centre bit that you can see there is because of the light that's pointing at the sketch physically, so it is actually black there. This is the bit I enjoy the most, really, is the clothes, because I find it so rewarding. And yes, you can see my head. I'm at a funny angle, and it's the only real angle. I didn't realise I was on camera. I think I just clocked it then. So, yes. You can see the eczema on my forehead. So yeah. Now we have to do the arm in various layers, you see, because my collection of pencils doesn't really include a hell of a ton of shades. It's quite comprehensive, but there are some subtle shadings that I do need to achieve. And to start off with, I'm going to just coat the upper part of his arm in a deep blue here, and then I'll be going over with a yellow. I did have to look this up because I couldn't remember whether it was actually a blue denim jacket or whether it was dyed a different colour. But no, yeah, it is blue, but it's a sort of faded blue anyway. And then I have to factor in the orange glow that's pointing at them as well. So it's best to do this in layers. And the reason why I'm going in straight away with a really deep blue is because it's best all round, really. I could map out the highlights, but I feel like it's better for me to just go over and just shade the entire patch with one deep shade, and then I'm going to go over it in various ways, you see. So I'll be using a rubber to get the highlights, and then I'll go over with a black pencil. I'll be using dark brown. So yeah, I mean, it's really just 3 color pencils right here. So from here on out, really. So it's the deep blue here. It's the orange, and it's the black. Oh, so 4, and the dark brown. Blue, orange, dark brown, black. And with those colour pencils combined, you will see the result by the end of this episode. His arm, which will be pretty much 90% done. The only real thing I have to do is just go over with one final pass of detail. I may do that in between episodes. I didn't really expect this project to be in so many parts, so I'm worried that it might be dragging. And the previous episode was not an episode that I was happy with, so I'm trying to make up for that here and sort of explain in a fair amount of detail what I'm doing. It took a little bit of thought to kind of work this out. I did 1 or 2 tests to make sure that my theory was right, and yes, it all works out very nicely. So his jacket is a sort of a patch work of a dark blue denim and then a light blue denim. And so I'm now just sort of going through with my electric eraser and just marking out the separation. I eventually move on to my eraser pencil, which is a new thing I bought. It's quite good. It's quite nice, actually. It's useful for this sort of thing, I suppose. If you're going to need to do some fine eraser work, then in my experience, it's really difficult to get a sharp eraser, to get an accurate sort of, if you're doing hair, like white hair, for instance, and you want, the hairs to be fine, then it's quite difficult to find an eraser that will do that for you. And in my sort of 6-7 years worth of personal experience, I've always sort of tried to avoid needing to do that. But with sketching in colour, it's kind of shifted things a little bit, and I have sort of talked about this before, and it's kind of changed my whole perspective on art. I now know that if I need to do anything fine, I can use a white pen, a thin white pen, and I can shade over that. For instance, if I was to shade black like I'm doing up there, and then I added in some white from the white pen, and then I went back over with the black pencil, it works really, really well, and that surprised me quite a bit. So with that, armed with that knowledge, I now know that that's what I can do. If I mess up completely, then I know I have a way out, and that kind of that was quite sort of a happy moment. I'm not gonna lie, because I realised, well, I can sort of be a bit forceful and still, get the right result. My goal really is to make everything a bit quicker, is to just sort of do things quicker and quicker. So I've since noticed upon watching this back that when I'm sketching over with the orange here, it's quite difficult to notice the highlight difference with the light blue and the dark blue there, right? That I just did with the eraser. It's difficult to kind of see that on this camera. If you squint your eyes a little bit, you might be able to see what I'm saying, but it's the color settings of my camera. I'm having to use some software called DroidCam, and it's kind of, it's not portraying the colors very accurately, put it that way. So this is the next step here now, is to do a fairly light shade over what I've done already. Now what this does is stains the blue into a sort of a dark orangey greeny type hue, which is perfectly accurate to how it is in well, certainly my source photo that I have. I have since noticed that I've looked at a different image and of the same image, but from a different source, and the lighting's sort of slightly different. So I have been using that as a reference as well. So I'm just getting in the basic gist of the shape here. There's something going on his shoulder sort of point there, but we'll come back to that. So now we're moving down to the bottom end, and we are going to just coat it in a light blue. So this is the seam here, and I'm blocking it out because I think that it's one of those things that needs to sort of stand out. So yeah, going over with that light blue now, and then I'm going to go over it again with a light orange, and you'll see the hue change there. It's quite interesting. I mean, I completely, I mean, it looks god awful at the moment, but the technique that I use to just layer it upon layer, different shades, darker shades, and then using the eraser perhaps to sort of bring some highlights back out. I worked on both of the faces for a good couple of hours. I was kind of having trouble getting it right, and I still don't think I've got it perfectly spot on, but it's going to have to do because I have literally spent too much time on the faces. So there was the Back to the Future anniversary not long ago, and there was a show, an American show. I think it was the Jimmy Fallon show or something. And they rolled out Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, and it just didn't feel right. I mean, like, it was nice to see them again, but they would, they were so tired looking. And I just felt really sorry for them. And I mean, if it's something that they wanted to do, that's fair enough. But I don't know, I just kind of didn't feel right about it. Just didn't feel right. It's difficult to see the end of this, I know. But trust in me. If you're looking to get into colour work, there's always... for me, I always try to just... I jump in at the deep end, to put it bluntly. I always pick something that is perhaps slightly bigger than I can chew when it comes to doing art projects, mainly because I just want to push myself and see, where it goes. And it's good for you as well. I mean, do things that you feel comfortable with, obviously, but I always say it's a good idea to experiment pretty much all the time, as often as you can. So the camera really isn't doing this justice at the moment, I have to admit. But we're getting there. I've got to do that little patch. I'll sort that out. So now the trick is to go through it all with a dark brown, because this is going to be sort of like the upper sort of shadowy depth, and we're going to go back through it all again with a black pencil. So you'll see pretty much after this pass what I'm talking about, because this is the pass now where things start to make a lot of sense, and I have to be quite careful with my shading here because it's very specific. I want to get it as bang on accurate as I can. So this is the point where you start remembering sort of the shapes and the angles of the shade, the fall off, the amount of fall off there is. Just take your time with it. It's almost as if you're envisioning the clothes. I mean, if what I'm doing there, you see, I know that the cloth goes round regardless of how many folds or how many of all of those are and in what position. It's all irrelevant because I know that there is a sort of a roundness to it. So as you can see, right, it's all sort of, slowly coming together now. It's all about getting the accuracy. But you can't expect results straight away. You know what I'm saying? You've got to just trust yourself that you're going to get it right. And you are really just replicating what you're seeing. You're taking your time, being patient, sweeping across the whole area. There is a certain amount of interpreting, and I have had to do a little bit of interpreting with their faces. I will admit that, because it's one of those things that really wasn't translating very well on a sort of one-to-one, basis. So you've always got to sort of be mindful of things like that, because you don't want to get it wrong. There is a certain amount of overconfidence as well, and you do have to kind of dial it back a little bit whilst you're doing it. Confidence matters, but you do have to be patient, and you can't expect results straight away. Okay, so we're getting there. Now I know that the rest of his jacket down here is very patchy, and yeah. The devil is in the details, you see. It's in the details. I mean, it's clearly like a denim jacket that he hasn't worn, he hasn't washed in a fair amount of time. What to speak of the orange light that's hitting it. So if you haven't worked it out already, this is double the speed of normal. And there was a time when I would upload it, real time speed, but I have since realized that, well, maybe I should sort of speed it up a little bit, because I found that my commentary was really sort of lasting only about half an hour, and I'd run out of things to say. So, and I didn't really sort of want to bother you with nothing, or with bullshit talk, or I didn't want to bother you with bullshit talk or anything. So I try to keep that to a minimum as well, unless you like it. So. And see, before you know it, it's really all starting to make sense now, because I've layered it all. I've gotten the right shade that I need, and everything is pretty much spot on. I'll be going over it again at some point and doing additional tweaks. But this is, it's a great sort of example of pursuing something, knowing that it will happen eventually. You just have to give it some time. And if you're looking to get into drawing, then there really is no better way than just jumping right in, to be quite honest with you. Because you never know what you're going to achieve unless you try it, So just making sure here that we've got all the essential bits. Now we're going to just draw in the seam. And this bit is a double stitch, so you need 3 lines here, two columns going down there. Even just the basic shade brings it out. Oh man, I love sketching so much. I just loved it. I love it. And it's a whole new dimension with colouring as well. You just feel so powerful. So now we're tackling the black areas. So we're using our black pencil now, and we're just going for it. So if you like what you're seeing, then give me a subscribe. I'm not going to beg like other channels do, but I should explain, if you haven't watched any of my other videos, this is the first time you're jumping in, then I do commissions for free. All I really ask is that you subscribe and keep requesting stuff, because there's a rolling monthly chance that your request is going to be chosen. And at this stage of the game, with my subscribership being as it is, like 270, there's a chance that I'm going to do what you ask. And to all my subscribers, just make requests, honestly, because I will respond, and I will do my best to do your work, your request, I like a challenge. So we're coming up to the end of the episode here, and as I've said before, If you like what you see, you know what to do. Check out some of my other videos. I've done a whole Joker series. There's only one left to do, which is Joaquin Phoenix. Every sketch that I do gets put into my 3D gallery, which I've built in the Unreal Engine 5. And it is just sort of like it's a room with all my work on the wall in picture frames, basically. It's very stylish, if I do say so myself. And so every time I do a sketch that gets featured, I do a render, and that goes in at the end of all my speed sketch videos. So with each project, I sketch out and upload the project in double speed now, but in relative, real time. And then I do a time-lapse version which lasts about 6-10 minutes, and it will incorporate some of the music that the subject was involved in. So if it's a movie, that you'll have some of the score from the film, and I try to make a presentation out of it. But it's at the end of those episodes that feature the Unreal scene. So if you want your project immortalized in my 3D gallery, then you know what to do. So keep an eye out for the next part. It should be the following day at 3 p.m, unless something seriously bad happens, who knows. I'm going to love you and leave you for now. So until next time, take care of yourself. I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.